again. So question 1, because I know there's questions about especially part number 3 to this, which says write an equation below that shows the relationship between the number of CDs purchased since 2005, which is f of x, to time x. Okay, so if you notice that on the x-axis is time, which is years, and on the y-axis is height. So in order to find, which we did this the other day to calculate the rate of change, which is the same thing as slope, we have to have 2 points. So I'm going to choose the point here that's at 0, 20. So I have the point at 0, 20. That's one of my points. And then I'm also going to choose the point that's at 20. If I go up and over, it's at 40. So my other point is 20, 40. And I think we talked about this yesterday, but if you don't have it, that's fine. So I'm going to label the first point x1 and y1. And the second point is x2 and y2. Now, in their notes, they had used f of x minus f of x, but we're going to use y. So we said the slope was equal to y sub 2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And all we're going to do is plug in our numbers to the formula. So I have 40 minus 20 in my numerator for my y's. And in the denominator, I have 20 minus 0 for my x's. So 40 minus 20 is 20, and 20 minus 0 is 20, so 20 over 20 is the same thing as 1. So for every, so it says, so we'll get that next part in number 2. So our slope is 1. So it says, is the rate of change positive or negative? Well, since the line is increasing as it goes from left to right, okay, since it's going up as you move from left to right, same way as you read a page, then it is positive. And then it says justify your response using the context of the table. Okay, so the context of the table or the context of the graph is that since it's 21, same thing as saying 1 over 1. So that means that for every year, the height grows 1 foot. Okay, the tree grows 1 foot every year or per year. And that's in context to the graph that they gave us, which we can make a table of values from. Okay, so that means when it was 1 year, it'd be 1 foot. When it gets to 10, it'd be, it grows 1 foot every year, but it starts out at 20 feet. Okay. So that's where we come into what we need to know about number 3. Now remember we talked about slope-intercept form. We have y equals mx plus b. We started out with just the mx, which was the same thing. And I know it says right here f of x. Remember we said that f of x and y are the same thing. So when they say f of x, they're really talking about y. Okay, so it'd be the same thing. They could actually write this as f of x is equal to mx plus b. And if you go back and look at some of your notes from before we got out from Christmas, you should see where we worked on this. So we know that m is the rate, and the rate is 1 foot for every year. So our m is 1. And we're going to talk more about this for our letter B. Okay, so that's where we're going to look at that in just a moment. So that means y equals 1 times x. Well, now if we look back on it, if we plugged in 10 for x, we would get 10. Well, the 10, if you go follow it up, is up here at 30 instead of at 10. So that means we had to make an adjustment. Well, the fact that when it was 0 years is 20 foot tall, that means the tree had to be 20 foot tall when you bought it. So that's where the B comes in from. So we're going to add 20 to that. So if you plugged in, so if you have X equals 10, then, and it's hard writing with my finger on this thing. Whoop. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Take that off. Then we know that y equals 1 times 10 plus 20, which is, of course, y equals 30. And if you go back and look at your graph, you see that when x is 10, y is 30. If you plugged in 20, it'd be 1 times 20 is 20. 20 plus 20 is 40. Well, when it's 20 years, it is 40 foot tall. If you plugged in 30 for x, 1 times 30 is 30. 30 plus 20 is 50. When it's 30 years old, go by, and you can follow it straight up over here, and you go over, yep, it's 50 foot tall. So the B comes from where you started over on the y-axis, and we're going to talk more about that tomorrow in class when we talk about graphing linear functions using slope-intercept form, which is going to be this form. The only thing they changed it is they're using f of x instead of y, but again, we said that f of x and y are the same thing. They're interchangeable with each other. So if you have any further questions, I have openings for tomorrow if you need some help, because we won't have time probably in class to go over this. But so hopefully if you have questions, if it's the same question, then I'll do something else to help out. Otherwise, if it's just a couple of you might want to sign up for a time. And it'll be during our using my Google Classroom for tutorials. Okay, thank you.